Say goodbye to your siloed legacy CRM and say hello to Microsoft Dynamics 365, your one-stop AI-powered customer experience platform that'll make it easier for your employees to wow your customers. Data analytics teams ready to make your data work smarter, not harder? Dynamics 365 preps your data for AI, so you can focus on insights, not spreadsheets. Sales and marketing teams meet the world's first co-pilot in CRM, streamlining your daily workflows, so you can spend more time engaging with customers and less time on mundane tasks. Customer service agents turn service calls into fan clubs with a solution that transforms customers into your biggest advocates, with easy access to case resolutions. And because it's Dynamics 365, you get the full power of the unified Microsoft ecosystem. Microsoft Teams, Outlook, and more, all seamlessly integrated into your flow of work. With Dynamics 365, you're not just closing deals, you're fostering relationships. Understand your customers like never before, personalize experiences, and watch your pipeline grow. So let's get down to business with Dynamics 365.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today here at Ignite on this snowy Thursday morning of all things. I'm Jim Nakashima, and I lead product development for Dynamics 365 sales and for customer insights at Microsoft. And I'm going to talk to you about something you haven't heard all week. That's generative AI. Of course, you've heard all about it. It's one of Microsoft's most important initiatives right now. It's an important initiative at all the top companies in the world. But I'm going to talk about it in the context of Dynamics 365 sales and our vision for how generative AI is really going to change how sellers work. You've probably heard that before, but this vision and strategy is constantly evolving as generative AI is also on a rapid pace of development. But let's take a step back and just think about what are the problems that sellers face today. They're not anything new, really, per se, but we've never had the solutions that we've really wanted to eliminate these as problems. The first is just this priority overload. It could be your email inbox, your calendar, your sales system. It could be so many different phone calls and people coming by your desk. There's so much information coming at you every day that it's hard to know how you should be spending your time to have the most impact on things like building pipeline or closing deals, driving revenue and growth for your company. And to make matters worse, you aren't just inundated with all these things to do. The vast majority of the things that you're doing involve manual processes, manual work, onerous tasks, things that you're better off, things you're better off not spending time on, quite honestly. And then customers are just expecting more than ever, meaning when they submit a form or they give you some signal, they want you to be on top of it. They have lost all patience. Back in the day, you could wait multiple days to hear back from a company, and today, that would be terrible. For example, I ordered something from a company recently, and they said the shipping would take over a week. And I was completely beside myself. How could shipping take over a week? Yet, not too long ago, that would have been considered fast. And so these customer expectations are just changing. And as those customer expectations change and continue to get more and more demanding, you look at things like sellers only spending 30% or 70% of seller time actually being spent on non-selling tasks. And you think, wow, how can we improve the seller day in the life so that they can in turn improve that experience they give to their customers? And then we look at AI, and why is AI so important? Well, it's important because, like I said, it's going to change how people work. And we are seeing, and our forecast is that in just a couple years, the vast majority of seller research workflows in particular will begin with AI. So the world's changing. But it isn't just Copilot anymore. Copilot is hugely important. We use it internally at Microsoft all the time. And it's a big part of our sales process now. But Copilot is inherently chatting to Copilot, a personal assistant, working on your behalf based on what you are instructing it. We now have, and you've heard about these agents. And agents are capabilities that are autonomous and proactive. And they're different from, I just want to put a point on this, they're different from the automation that you have today. And they're different because instead of having to write a number of rules to handle different situations, and if you didn't get the rule to handle the situation that you want to have handled, well, the automation isn't just, it's not even going to run, or you have to write a bunch of code. But again, when you write code, the code has to know the conditions exactly in order to run. But with these generative AI agents, they can understand context and knowledge and really take action themselves holistically without having to have all these rules. And so that completely changes that which we can automate now and how that can assist the seller. And so agents we see actually being more like a member of the team or working on the behalf of the team or even at a company level, blurring across different departmental boundaries. And you can scale them as much as or little as you need. So kind of putting that into a picture, yesteryear you had sales reps. Today you have sales reps powered by Copilot and assisted by Copilot. And very soon, maybe even just a couple weeks from now, you're going to have sales reps working with Copilots, overseeing a team of AI agents that you can scale up and down based on your particular needs. So what does that look like? What does that even mean? Because that's pretty abstract. Well, let me tell you a little bit about how we figured out what agents to actually build. Some of our competitors have looked at it more of, we have this specific maybe chatbot technology and we're going to apply that into different domains. What we did is we actually looked at the fact that this type of automation is more than just chatbots or that kind of interaction, engagement, digital engagement. It can actually do a lot of things just on behalf. A lot of that manual work can be done by these agents. So we looked across the entire life cycle of jobs to be done for sellers. And so you can see each cog represents a category of jobs, or it's finding leads or connecting with them or qualifying them. And what we found was, we wanted to understand two things. What jobs are sellers actually doing? Where are they spending the most time? And where can these agents now, with context and knowledge, automate some of these things in concert with the seller? So going back and forth, working, interleaving between seller and agent, where that seller brings innately human powers to the sales cycle. Things like relationship building, more important than ever. Adaptability and understanding the situation to make a good judgment call. Judgment also being super important. These are innately human things that are super important in terms of closing deals, but then also having that experience with customers that you want to deliver. So we looked at the human things, we looked at the agent things, and we figured out, okay, across all this, what are our opportunities? And there certainly are opportunities in sales development, deal acceleration, and post-sale nurture. But we're starting here, and literally in a few weeks, we're going to be releasing a private preview of our sales qualification agent, which works that top of the funnel. So we're kind of making our way through the entire life cycle, starting with lead management. Maybe you call it prospecting, maybe you call it qualification. And our sales qualification agent essentially does three things. One, it's researching on your behalf. And this is something sellers always do, especially in the B2B context and looking up company information, information about leads, information across many different systems that you actually have in the company. And they spend a tremendous amount of time on that, just manual work. And then what do? They create their own spreadsheets typically. We see that in the 80% case that sellers have their own spreadsheets outside of CRM because they're trying to track all this information that they've compiled themselves. So, but remember I said that sellers also need to know where they should be spending their time. And so this agent will also understand that and flag which leads they should be spending time on and which action they should be taking. In addition, we'll draft personalized emails to drive that engagement on behalf of the seller. So let's take a quick look at this sales qualification agent.
As a sales rep, you spend hours on manual tasks like researching leads and writing personalized emails. That's precious time that could be spent closing deals. Say hello to Sales Qualification Agent, your new AI agent that helps you prioritize leads and drive better business outcomes. Let's see how it works with Dynamics 365 Sales. The agent autonomously researches leads in your pipeline 24/7. It analyzes multiple data sources and flags the hottest prospects for you. With just one click, you can learn why a particular lead is prioritized based on research data synthesized from CRM records, third-party data, and public web sources. When you're ready to reach out, the agent has already drafted a personalized email. A quick review, a couple edits, and you are ready to hit send. And just like that, you're ready to move on to the next prioritized lead. With the Sales Qualification Agent, you'll never miss a beat. More meetings, more deals, more wins.
So we packed a lot in the video. We do have longer versions, but let me just kind of summarize what you saw, because there was actually a lot in there. The first is the research. And remember, our agents aren't just about digital engagement. Our agents are about automating the most important, impactful jobs that an agent is best suited to automate. And so one of those jobs is this research that I talked about before. Aggregating all this data together, synthesizing it, and understanding what's important relative to how a lead should be prioritized and how likely they are to convert. The second is bringing the most impactful work to you. Again, sellers have this priority overload. So how do you go to that one place and know, we're starting with leads, but you'll see this as one place you go to look across all lead, account, opportunity, everything that you do inside the CRM and say, oh, these are the most impactful things that I should be spending time on. And so we have a new UX that we're building up at the top that's going to be all about prioritization. And in this context, it's about knowing what leads you should be talking to and what action you should be taking. And then there's proactive outreach. Now, this is so last year. This is so 2 years ago. What? You're talking about email generation in 2024? Well, there's two differences, and there's two reasons why we're calling this out. One is that email generation is now based on the researched data, the research that agent is doing. So a wealth of data that you didn't have just naturally sitting in a lead record. The second is we are embarking on this road to not just deliver capabilities to sellers, but deliver best practices. So every seller can be like your best seller. And we're just getting started on this road, but this is one of these examples. We talked to over 100 different sellers about how they improve response rates of their emails. And there's some common patterns. One of the patterns is obviously in the first sentence, you have to be personalized and relevant. You have to show that you know this person and that this isn't just a generic mail. Generic mails, delete, unsubscribe. Like, that's what happens to them, and they don't get responded to. And then you need to show how your products and services apply to their world, their industry, their company. And that's really critical in terms of getting response rates. And so that's what we're actually building with this proactive outreach and this agent. It isn't just yet another email generation capability. And then, of course, just like if I were to onboard to your company or you're onboarding new sellers, I'm not a seller, but if you were to onboard a new seller, you would have to explain to them, okay, here's what our products are, here's our company, here's our brand language, here's everything you need to know before you send them out to talk to customers, or even to know how to qualify this customer versus that customer. And so we have that same experience within the sales qualification agents. So you can configure things like your ideal customer profile so that our agents can understand, we can understand how to actually make a qualification decision and how to engage with your customers. So with these agents, what we're seeing is this ability to go from this world of priority overload to a world of understanding the most impactful work I should be doing at any moment and any day with a dynamic UI. We're going from a set of manual processes to automated engagement and automation throughout the seller lifecycle, where as part of doing this work, every single piece of work, we will automatically update the CRM as well. And so ongoing data hygiene, instead of this task you have to do at the end of the month because your manager is bugging you, hey, please update your CRM, not the most glorified work, and incredibly hard for managers and leaders to get their teams to actually do it. And then finally, these customer expectations. Time kills all deals. Lack of follow-up kills all deals. Well, the best way to never miss your best move is not to have to do it. And that's where agents can help and then surface to you that which you should be doing that innately only you can do to actually close the deal. And so we're using contextual research and prioritization as well. But it isn't just about these capabilities. You need fuel. And that fuel is data. And so we're spending time investing calories into building out more around the data space. And Microsoft's been very invested in data for a long time, just to unify customer experience. But now, of course, it's more important than ever. So one of the first things we're doing, and for those of you that are using Copilot today, you'll see sometimes that Copilot can't understand your language. For example, if you have a pursuit team, what does that mean to Copilot? Well, if you don't tell it, it doesn't mean anything. If you have an entity that has a field called TCX, what does that mean? Well, who knows? And so today, Copilot can't make use of that information, but we're allowing you to, through Copilot Studio, actually customize our out-of-the-box agents with this glossary of information. The second thing we're doing, again through Copilot Studio, so Copilot Studio allows you to build custom Copilots, but it also allows you to customize your out-of-the-box Copilots. That same capability of specifying knowledge sources, grab information from this website, from this SharePoint site, is also going to be available with our sales qualification agents. But third, sometimes you don't have the data you need. And we've actually done a lot of research with customers, and many, I'd say actually in the 80 percentile of customers actually need third-party data to make good decisions about their customers. And so we're building out an ecosystem of data providers on AppSource. And one such provider is Clay. And I'm very happy to have Kareem here, founder and CEO of Clay, to talk a little bit about how Clay and Microsoft are working together around third-party data. Hi, Kareem.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jim.
Yeah. So, Kareem, first I just want to start with, what's Clay? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what is Clay?
Yeah, of course. So I'm really excited to be here. Clay is a creative tool to help you turn any of your ideas for growing your company into reality very quickly. And there's really three ways to grow a company. So either you prospect to find new customers, you convert ones that are coming to you, or you expand existing ones. And the thing that's common across all of them is having really great and accurate real-time data so that you can target the right people and say the right thing at the right time. And we aggregate every data provider in the world and also have an AI research agent to help you do that.
Excellent. Yeah, we're really excited about our partnership. Second question is, why integrate with Microsoft? Especially for a startup, time is so critical for you.
Yeah.
Why invest your time with Microsoft?
We're super excited about this. I think it's a natural partnership. Microsoft is a leader in CRM and AI, and with all the great features that you're announcing today, what we want to do is to make sure that Dynamics customers have the best data so that the Copilot and agents can actually extract some of that contextual information that you were talking about.
Yeah, and I have to say, from the first time we met and we had a kind of an offsite, there was just such a great synergy, to use a buzzword, but I just felt really aligned with how you thought about the world and how we were thinking about the world. It's been great from that standpoint. So now, why is data more important than ever?
I think the key thing to know about LLMs and AI is that they extract contextual information from data that you have maybe in your CRM or that's out there in the world. And so it's only as good as the data that you give it. And in order to get insights, so if you want to, for example, find out if a company has a remote office in Sao Paulo, right? An agent can go and do that research on your behalf, but it has to have really good data in order to do that. So does this company, and needs to have access to how many employees are in Sao Paulo? Are there employees outside of that? Where are the company's offices? And we provide all of that information so that the agent can do the work.
Yeah, excellent. One last question for you. You know, budgets are always harder than ever, or budgets are harder than ever right now, and it always has to be about, you know, are you driving revenue and what's your cost? Tell me a bit about how Clay and data are going to help companies grow.
I think the core thing is that right now there's so much, as you all know, there's so much information being pumped to customers. There's so many emails going out, and you need to be, what we've found is you need to be more and more targeted. You have to go with micro campaigns. You have to reach people at the exact right time. And in order to do that, you need to have accurate real-time data. So with AI agents, you can go and see, for example, if someone's changed their pricing recently, or if they put out a new blog post that's actually relevant. And as soon as that happens, you can then use that to craft your outreach. But without that, you'll fall behind and someone else will get there. And that's why it's really important to have the most accurate and real-time data. And that's why we try to aggregate every data provider so that you don't have to go anywhere else to get what you need.
Excellent. Well, Kareem, I really appreciate the partnership and for you being here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So now we have a bit of a treat. We have some more guests coming on stage. Oh, from over here, apparently. We have Jamie from Microsoft, Keith from Ernst & Young, EY, and Dan from Cooper Surgical. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, thank you both for joining us today. Really happy to have you here. Let's dive right in. So to kick things off, tell us about your sales organization and your CRM solution prior to Dynamics 365 sales. What were some of the challenges that you were facing? Dan, we'll start with you.
So Cooper Surgical is a medical device company that's grown really fast and through acquisitions. So we came from a situation where we had a lot of siloed systems, very different systems. We had Salesforce, we had Dynamics, we had a lot of different sales support systems, Sugar CRM, HubSpot. It was a mess, right? And about 5 years ago, we took a decision to move to a single ecosystem, working with Microsoft, getting a unified Dataverse, moving into a singular kind of Dynamics application across not only CRM, but F&O, data platforms, also moving to engagement where we had Zoom and Teams, but unifying engagement platforms. So really getting a solid architecture and strategy going forward. And over the last 5 years, we've really moved in that direction.
That's great. And Keith, tell us about your sales organization at EY and your prior CRM solution.
Sure, yeah, ours was not anything like that. Very different organization. We are very much a relationship, consulting, professional services firm, and our CRM really was about creating codes in our ERP system is what it was. It was very transactional, a lot of delegation, excuse me, of tasks, and it really wasn't used to proactively sell or drive activities within the sales organization. So we were really looking for something where we can interact with other tools and technologies that we had in play already around relationships and leverage some of these new things you're seeing come out with the agents and co-pilots and that kind of stuff. And so we just had to choose a tool that was going to grow with the future, and the investments Microsoft has made in the AI space and R&D and just the interfaces and things were, where we wanted to go with ours.
Great. And Keith, tell us about your experience with Dynamics 365 sales. How many users do you have, and what are some of the noticeable impacts?
Yeah, so for us, we have we're about 400,000 people globally, and about 100,000 users is our target, and we're coming up on that here in the spring of next year. It's been a 2.5-year journey. We launched in about a year ago. with about 2,500 users in 2 small countries, and we actually did this last spring, 30,000 users lit up in one day, which I understand is a record on the platform, without a hitch, no challenges, no issues. There probably were some, but nobody noticed, right? So we have a great team. So our numbers are large. There's a lot of people on there. Super excitement around the technology. A lot of leadership and accolades coming down, and people are excited to get in there and use it. There was a point where people were clamoring for licenses because they wanted to get in there and use it, which is not typical in the technology in our organization. So that was great, and we saw a lot more leadership interaction with those tools. So the people that are actually talking to clients and customers versus delegating tasks to staff and administrative people to go ahead and update the system. So and that was a choice we made to kind of drive that behavior.
Great. Those are some incredible metrics. Dan, how has Cooper Surgical's experience been with Dynamics 365 sales?
Well, it's very different from yours, Keith, in maybe that we're not as big. It's about 1,000 users globally, but it's got a lot of depth. We worked a lot in approaching very customized sales processes for various types of products that we have in business units. So we've really gone into the depth of really building processes that in detail support the sales processes for different teams. We've been able to drive a lot of conversion improvement through that by really making the system relevant. So we've seen a sales conversion improvement maybe from 46, 47, 48 as we started to maybe 54% on opportunities. We have much better visibility on granularity on product, and we have intelligence today, and we can manage campaigns and various other capabilities. So people are happy.
That's wonderful to hear. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the benefits that you're seeing of the full platform? Because I know you're also using Dynamics 365 Service in finance and operations as well.
Yeah, so I think the holy grail within CRM is really to have that 365 engagement across field service, customer service, sales, marketing, and in that, having a unified dataverse across Dynamics F&O and CRM integrated with Dual Write allows us to not have the kind of integration maintenance that I think everyone else kind of struggles with. And it's allowed us to be really effective in rolling out fast, building out smaller teams, tailor things. It's really been fantastic.
Great. Another question for you, Dan. I know Cooper Surgical is using Copilot in Dynamics 365 Sales. Can you share more about how your sales organization is using it today?
Sure. We use Copilot both for sales and service. And really, we're building out the prompts to collect, summarize information, provide various questions, research questions, so that sales reps and service representatives really get the right answers based on knowledge bases and don't have to collect and find. We use the reference point, so from the summary you get the articles. I think this is what most people are doing. But of course, we're super excited about the agents, and we're going to go straight into those and get those going as well to drive automation. Super exciting.
Great to hear those benefits. Keith, EY will be rolling out Microsoft 365 Copilot for Sales. How is that going, and what are you hopeful to see with this new tool for the sales force?
Yeah, as a large organization, we operate in most countries, and there's a lot of different legal and regulations and cultural things that we have to adopt for. So it'd be nice to be as nimble as you are and be able to jump in as fast. Unfortunately, we have to go through some things to get there. So we're running some pilots and doing some testing. The key 3 things we're trying to accomplish is really knowledge. We have a great change management organization. We've done a ton on knowledge and localization and got the country regional leaders to lean in to do things. How do we enable that within the platform to drive them through the sales process? So use the tool in the right way and fill in all the right fields and let Copilot be a guided seller for us. That's the first one. Really, we have large accounts with many different opportunities, and account teams or pursuit teams from 2 to 50 to 100 people sometimes, right? So there's a lot of people in there touching these records and doing activities and taking notes. And so the summarization piece is going to be critical for us for that. And then really the last one is around what changed. Why has it not changed? I'm looking forward to taking that to be, okay, move the date, change the date, update the fields. Some of the data stuff that Clay was talking about was great. Like, I'd love to leverage some of those things with the agents to be able to actually update the data, because that's the biggest challenge we have, is getting people to update the records. And so, there's plenty of calls where we're telling people to go update it, and they want to take notes in Excel. We want to get rid of all the Excels, run pipeline meetings in the system using the tool, and letting the agents help us drive that. That's where we want to get to. So
Wonderful. A popular question that we get from attendees is around tips for adoption. So Keith, at EY, one of the things that you're doing to increase data accuracy is gamification for CRM entry. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so some of the stories we hear from, and some of these leaders in these regions just kind of takes a life of their own. So they're doing a lot of leaderboard type stuff, or giving away prizes for entries put in the system, making sure the data is accurate, keeping up to date. Our leadership from the top and also from the bottom, from a community perspective, are coming together and driving that. So there's a lot of recognition on our main landing page and our website. We're pretty regularly around new features being released. Celebration of when we go live in different regions and countries. I have a shirt on that I got for our US that says, "I'm so dynamic," and I'll show you the back later, but it says, all I got for doing this great project was a lousy t-shirt. So, and our head of sales gave that to the entire development team that built the solution, so that was kind of neat. And so it's really about celebrating. Some countries made cupcakes with CRM on them. There's lots of shirts and things like that, but it's really about driving the excitement around the environment and what we're doing. And like I said, people want to get access and they want to get in there and use it, so that's always a good sign.
Yeah, that's great advice and tactics that other organizations can emulate. Dan, turning to you, one of the unique use cases that Cooper Surgical is doing is around the integration of Dynamics 365 Commerce. Share with us about how you're facilitating that.
Yeah, so our sales organization combines, sales of one-off equipment, but also a lot of consumables for surgical or IVF clinics. And it's a balance of maintaining the kind of ongoing ordering and striking new deals. So what we're doing is we're using Dynamics Commerce as our customer order management platform, and we're building in a number of service units, sales units, or objects to plug in, so that we can start to have an enablement platform. We also have the ability for sales reps to work in Dynamics Commerce, administrating and supporting order management for the customer, setting up order templates, standing orders, those kinds of things. So, and having that access to information for that specific customer. So order management made easy, right, is going to be super critical for any organization. And having that not only as a siloed e-commerce, but engaging the sales force in that. So we're very excited about this.
That's wonderful. So I'd like to close with asking you both to share one best practice. What would be helpful for our audience to know as they embark upon transforming their CRM and look to adopt Copilot and agents? Keith, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I think for me the big thing is change, and UI is very strong on the change piece and driving our clients through big transformations of technology, and we adopted that in our own solution. So for any client out there, this is all new technology. It's scary. It's not normal for them to interact with computers, and it's frightening. And you can't just give them these tools. You have to walk them through it. And I think the biggest thing is peers showing peers how to do it, finding champions within the organization, watching people work is critical. And then again, celebration, sharing success stories from the ground up. That seems to work better in our organization. I get some are different, but leadership has to be saying, do this, it's good for us, it's going to help us, but then the people on the ground actually have to see the value and utilize it, and then encourage them to share those stories. So prompt libraries, those kind of things where you have a community built around that, I think is the most important thing.
Great. And Dan, what advice would you give?
I agree with Keith. I think the sales management engagement is going to be driving a lot, and having the super users and SMEs fully on board. But I would add focusing small and focusing on processes, having that success within each process. It's not a system configuration, it's delivering a process that works. And starting small, don't try to do everything at once, but get something on the go and start doing incremental improvements, because most sales users don't know what they want until they get it. So there's a continuous development and Sales is a very tactical game as well. So there will be acquisitions, there will be new products, so you need to kind of build that enabling organization to be as tactical as the sales teams are.
And as though, we're much larger than you, but we did start small, 2,500 users in 2 small countries. And we really started, as we got to other bigger, larger areas, brought in key account teams. So it's smaller early adopter programs so they can use it. And then it started to share out, and so we learned from that. I think the other thing is quickly turning around features and changes that you get from your feedback from your community is important. And so we've been able to do that with regular releases and see the value. So something doesn't work how exactly you want it to, you provide feedback, and then 6 weeks later it's in the product. So the platform allows us to move that quickly, and I think that's important, but it's also that you gotta let the people know that it's changing and it's coming, and if you actually deliver on that, then you can be really successful. I know you have a similar cadence of change and release, which has been beneficial.
Yeah, but I think our definition of small, that's like 2.5 times my total user base, right?
Yes.
We can work on like a team of 10 and really driving that. So
yeah, no matter the size or scale, it's important to break it down into small pieces and not try to boil the ocean, and really get some feedback from that and learn and iterate, I think is important.
I agree.
Yeah, we love hearing from the different perspectives. I think that's really helpful for our audience today. Well, thank you, Dan and Keith, for joining us. Really appreciate it. I know the audience appreciates hearing your stories and your success with Dynamics 365 sales. So thank you. And Jim, we'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. My favorite part of my job is absolutely without question seeing the impact that we can have on the world, on the companies. And so these stories are especially meaningful to me. And it's really interesting to see too that, as being the kind of product development side of things, in the past, that's been enough. You build the product, people use it. But now we're just in this world of change, a type of change where people's jobs are changing and how they do things are really fundamentally changing, not just learning a new UI. And so it becomes much more of a partnership with all of you, with our partners, to really help drive the adoption of these capabilities, because a lot of them can do things that people never even imagined was possible. So anyway, thanks again to our panelists there. If I think about what I would love for you to just kind of take away as a key insight from this session, it's a couple things. One is I said one and then I said a couple things, but the thing that I would like you to take away is really that our competitors and other solution providers out there are focusing on digital engagement with agents. We're doing that too, but the thing that we're really focused on and how we figured out where to build our agents has been looking across that seller set of jobs and finding the most impactful jobs and those that are best suited to be automated through these new Gen AI agents. And then I would say, along with that, what you're seeing is a reinvention, a reimagination of what the Dynamics 365 Sales UI looks like, how it looks and feels, how it acts. You saw a lot of these screens. These are real things. We're going to go live here in a private preview in just a few weeks. And it doesn't look like the CRM of past. It isn't just a whole bunch of forms over data. That isn't the future of CRM, and certainly not the future of Dynamics 365 Sales. So, a couple resources for you. One is signing up for the preview. The link isn't quite live at the moment, but it will be in a couple of days. If you're really interested in getting in our private preview, please stop by our booth. We've got more demos, and we can sign you up one-on-one. And we have a collections page. And finally, I am actually doing a demo of these Copilot agents, this sales qualification agent, in like about 30 minutes or so over in Theater A in the hub. Would love to see you all there. And otherwise, there's also a great other session called Get Ready for the AI Era with a modern CRM from Marty and Natasha from Microsoft as well. So it's late in the conference. Really appreciate you all attending today. And I hope you have a great rest of the night. Thank you so much.